right, welcome to my video. I guess I'll start off by talking a little bit about what friction is, and then we'll get into some ways that we see friction used in the animal kingdom, and a really cool animal that uses this type of kind of nanotechnology in nature. So, friction essentially, in my definition, would be like the resistance between two objects. For example, if I was to take my hands like this and rub them together, there's friction between my hands. But an interesting thing about friction is it completely depends on the amount of pressure and on the type of materials that are being pressed. For example, if I put a lot of pressure on my hands, it's a lot harder to move than if I didn't have a lot. If my hands were really bumpy and cracked, it wouldn't be able to move as smoothly as it would if my hands were obviously, smoother, more lotioned. Then it would have less friction and be able to move. So a really cool animal that we can kind of see an example of this in the animal kingdom would be the sandfish. Um, the sandfish has adapted these cool scales. I'll kind of point out with my cursor these scales on it that make them like silky smooth to the touch. So with these scales, they're actually able to glide through the sand a lot easier, a lot more frictionless than they would if they had normal reptile scales. And they've adapted to be able to do this to survive in these sandy environments where, if you try running in the sand, sometimes you get caught up. You can't run as fast as you could, for example, on like a cement surface. So these animals have adapted to be able to slither through the sand, kind of, or swim almost like a fish. That's why it's called sandfish, because of these scales. And it produces a lot less friction, so they're able to go a lot faster through the sand. Another example of this would be like tires on a car. You see the tires on this. On this car, they have a lot more bumps and grooves, and that keeps the wheel from spinning, but it creates uh, more friction. Whereas the tires on this one are a lot more similar to this animal. They're smoother, so it creates less friction, so they're able to spin more. Obviously, on a car, you'd kind of spin out on a flat surface, but in the sand, they might do a little bit better. But yeah, there's my little video explaining about friction and kind of a cool example in the animal kingdom.